Mr. Ruddick, can you give us a quick sound check?
Yes. Hello. Ruddick here.
Thank you. Mr. Sawicki, we're going to try again. You might have to turn the volume down on your speaker because you're given some feedback when you speak. Go ahead, Mr. Sawicki.
Yes, hello.
Okay, that's a little better. Thank you.
Shut my notifications off. Right, he goes rude. We're not gonna be able to hear the questions. So we're gonna.
Okay, unfortunately, I've gone through about 3,000 different Zoom meetings, and I can tell somebody whose microphone's active has another Zoom user in the room, and that's causing feedback. So I'm not going to tell you to have another person in the room or not. I'm just moderating the Zoom portion, but your microphone's not going to come through if you have another person trying to use Zoom while you're using Zoom. You're going to get feedback like we keep hearing.
So, John, are we all set?
I believe so, yes.
All right. Well, if you listen to the mayoral forum, you've probably heard a lot of what I'm going to say now anyway, but I'm going to roll through it and then we'll get this on the show, on the road here. Welcome, everyone, to the 2021 Chelsea City Council Candidates Forum. I'm Paul Schissler. I own a business here in Chelsea. I've lived in the area for about 22 years now. I used to work here for many years, way back in the day, as they say. I have served on the Chelsea Area Chamber of Commerce Board for 7 years in the past, including 1 year as president. But I live in Lima Township now. I don't vote for city council members, so I have a fairly neutral position in this matter. It's my privilege to be here and guide us through this evening's event. First of all, I'd like to thank the candidates for being willing to serve on the role in the Chelsea City Council. As I've droned on and on for years now, it is not a job for the faint of heart. or a casual volunteer. It's for thoughtful, intelligent, caring people who care about this city, the large, well-trained team that keeps it operating at such a high level, our families, businesses, schools, parks and recreation, our community in general. I contend that people want to be on the city council out of a devotion and an affection for this beautiful city. Since at a couple dollars a meeting, I don't think any of you are going to do this for the money. My thanks also goes to those of you who took time from your day to log in and learn more about these candidates who are competing for the 3 available seats. I also note that this forum, like many of these, has been brought to you by the Chelsea Area Chamber of Commerce. Assisting me on this, as well as the earlier one, is Terrace Aarons. I think you can now get your hand over. Yeah, he's over there waving at you. He's helping me out with the timing charts, and if I get screwed up or if we switch some of the questions around, he'll be guiding me in my ear on the side here. I also want to thank his administrative assistant, Denise Coulieri, who does a lot of work on these activities for the Chamber, as well as the Chamber Board and the Chamber ambassadors. So I'll be asking the candidates many questions as time allows. The questions came to the Chamber anonymously through the website. There were way too many to ask them all, and many were duplications. So we included the ones most relevant to this election and did not choose the ones which were personal regarding any given candidate in this election. One last comment, and then we'll get started. For those of you who may not be familiar with the role of council members, I would refer you to the City of Chelsea website and recommend that you read about the council, peruse some of the agendas and minutes in previous meetings, as well as watch some of the videos. The city council meetings are always videotaped, and they're available. I believe it's channel 18 is the local public channel. To make this even more convenient, there's a link right on the city's website to track that down. So moving on, I'd like each of the candidates to introduce themselves and make their opening statements, which are limited to 3 minutes. I think if you were watching earlier, I've got some signs that Paris made me. So 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then time out. So if you talk too much, we're gonna, ask you to stop. 3 minutes apiece. We're gonna do this in alphabetical order. So we're gonna start with Tony Iannelli. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chamber, for hosting this great event. Thank you, fellow candidates. And thank you, Chelsea community, for attending tonight and paying attention to your city. If you don't know me, I have been on council for 4 years. I'm running for my 2nd term. I have been a resident of Washtenaw County for most of my life. My parents actually moved to the United States in the late 60s with the intent to give their children the hopes of the American dream. I was the first member of my family to attend university. I attended the Western Michigan University College of Engineering and got my summer internship with a Chelsea company called Bookcrafters, and then was fortunate enough to come back a year later to be offered full-time employment. It was there that I met the love of my life, who became my wife, Dawn, and her 2 children, Jason and Jennifer. And then our family expanded later in the early 2000s with the addition of our 2 sons, Jaron and Finnegan. My youngest, who is about to become a senior, who is now a senior at CHS, just started. During my time on council, I've served on the Western Washtenaw Recycling Authority. I'm currently the chairman. Also served on Seriously, the Chelsea Sustainability Committee, and the Human Rights Commission. During my term, some of the great things that we've done as a council, I certainly can't take credit for these all on my own, but we did adopt the Chelsea Master Plan. We pulled off an annexing agreement with Lima Township for a future development on the west end of town, or east end of town, sorry. We also purchased property adjacent to the city limits for a future park and green space and possibly even community center. We witnessed the revitalization of the blighted Mac building, which is now our agricultural farm stop. We adopted the new zoning ordinance to hopefully help us with our affordable housing issues. And most recently, the acquisition of the rights to Old US 12 from the county. Earlier in the mayoral session, they were talking about the Main Street, M52. We had a similar issue with old US 12, that was under the jurisdiction of the county. And now the city of Chelsea will maintain that road and any traffic on that. Also, the approval of the B2B trail connector right through the city. I'm running for re-election because I love this community just as much as most of you do. It has great people, businesses, and city management. And I want to represent the residents of the city in their best interests as we go into the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. And next, David Kaiser. Looks like you're muted. John, do we need an assist? There we go. Go ahead, David.
Okay. Yeah, hi, I'm Dave Kaiser. I would like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity and share a little bit about myself and some thoughts with you. This is my first Zoom meeting, so please bear with me. I don't know too much about these kind of things. So I have lived and been in this community all my life. I went to school here, and when I had children of my own, I knew this would be a great place for them as well. The school system and the welcoming nature of the people that live here are just a couple of things that influenced my desire to stay in this community. I have been employed by Chelsea Lumber Company for almost 25 years now. And before that, I worked for other local businesses such as Jiffy Mixes and Dana Corporation. I also worked for the school system as a bus driver for 7 years, following in my parents' footsteps where they drove both of them for over 30 years. I've also been very involved in coaching youth sports such as junior high, now middle school wrestling, and travel baseball. I've watched our village thrive and grow into a city while still maintaining its small town appeal, a place where everyone is welcome to enjoy the events and amenities that Chelsea has to offer. I believe it is easier to build a foundation on mutual respect when you have your basic needs taken care of. If you let those needs slip away, the foundation begins to fall apart. Unfortunately, some of the recent events that have occurred in our community have led me to my decision to run for city council. I feel that disagreements are not what people need in a small town. We need to remember that we are all neighbors and don't want our city to lose sight of the tranquil and safe city I remember. As a representative of Chelsea, I plan to keep our government tight and to do what is needed to keep peace and safety amongst our citizens. No more, no less. So let's get back to business. I look forward to meeting many of you in person in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next, Christine Mihiran.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here this evening for our own event of civil discourse. I've been a resident of Washtenaw County for 32 years. I have lived in different places in Washtenaw County, but my home professionally is Eastern Michigan University. And my home is also not only Eastern Michigan University, where I teach as a professor of philosophy and have been an associate dean. My heart is also where my community is and where the public good is. I have a complicated personal identity as both a public servant and as an academic professional. As a public servant, when I lived in Dexter Township for 12 years, I was a Dexter Township planning commissioner. And during that period of time, I also was a liaison to Dexter Township on the part of the Huron River Watershed Council, which is also a very important collaborative partner for the city of Chelsea. And so during that time, I earned a master planner's certificate and a certificate from Michigan Lakes and Streams. I moved to Chelsea in 2018. I became more and more impressed with the services offered by Chelsea and my real sense of Chelsea being much bigger than it is, because there are so many citizens with their hands on deck in this city. And it's just extraordinary to me. And I admit, as a consumer, I have adored all of Chelsea's arts and entertainment and beautiful entrepreneurial activities. But I never rest easy with just enjoying and consuming things. I feel like I need to give back as well. So the minute I hit town, I was appointed to the Chelsea Parks and Recreation Commission, and I was also appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, because I wanted to use my skills on behalf of the city. My heart is committed to the public good. My chosen families are my EMU colleagues and my students. The people of Chelsea has become my chosen family, and of course my friends. So I'm really happy to be heard this evening, and I look forward to sharing more of my views. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, Bill Ruddick.
Hello, I am Bill Ruddick, and I would like to thank the Chamber for pulling this forum together. And I really appreciate the work of the Chamber, which has helped create and maintain a vibrant business community in Chelsea. And I think part of our charm definitely falls in that realm. Let me begin with a simple statement. I love Chelsea. It is for this reason that I am running. That all other reasons are a corollary to that simple statement. Chelsea, with its vibrant downtown, its beautiful library and all the services provided by the library, the Purple Rose Theater, its wonderful, diverse restaurants, its many active churches, its active, socially driven youth, its community that has embraced both Laura and myself, have all meant that the 3 years that we have lived here have been rich and meaningful. Now, I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, not unlike Chelsea at all, where my paternal grandparents were both village clerk and town clerk. My uncle was the mayor. My paternal grandfather was on the Assessment Board of Appeals. In other words, I was steeped in what it means to be a community of service. I have served on every church board that I've been a member of since the age of 14. I have served on the Okemos Community, or the Okemos School Board. Professionally, I'm a certified project manager, and I've implemented large-scale accounting systems for the likes of the state of Michigan. I did that twice, and also top-tier universities. The truth is that this guides all that I do, is that we get things done when we work together. And as a single council member, we really have very little control over anything. It's only through working together with other council members that we can accomplish anything. I also want to point out that I feel very strongly about the importance of integrity. I have had personal and professional tough decisions which have been costly to me personally. But I could sleep at night in knowing that the communities I was serving were better for what I decided. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next, Phil Sawicki. And you are muted, Phil. We're working on that technical difficulty right now. Bear with us. There we go.
All right. Good evening. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity to present myself to the voters of Chelsea. To the rest of the audience, thank you for attending. Let me start by saying I'm not a politician. This won't be one of those polished speeches you normally hear this time of year. This is just my story, and I appreciate being able to share it with you. I'm a Michigan native, born and raised in Detroit. Following high school, I attended NMU in Marquette. I met and married my college sweetheart and got my bachelor's degree in law enforcement. After 4 winters in the UP, we were ready for a change. Folks said California is the place you ought to be, so we moved to California. We spent the 80s starting a family and getting my career off the ground. My son was born in 1986. By the late 1980s, my parents were stuffing cards and letters with Detroit area want ads urging us to come back home. We did return to Michigan in 1991 to raise our son among his extended family. I was working at the Ann Arbor Police Department the first time we visited Chelsea. Main Street was a collection of small businesses offering a variety of goods and services, and every storefront was occupied. The neighborhoods were full of well-kept homes with attractive yards, and Chelsea schools had a good reputation. Everything was clean and well-maintained. I was thoroughly impressed. Chelsea was everything we were looking for, so we bought a house in town to make this our forever home. For 30 years, Chelsea's been a wonderful place to live and raise a family. I retired in 2014 and stayed right here. Chelsea's my whole world now, and I love it here. I spend weeks traveling, never going east of Freer or west of Wilkinson. I walk my dog Leo around town every single day. We pass friendly, polite people who smile, say hello, and just appear happy to be here. I'd also like to mention I have a master's degree in public administration, which is a study of the various functions of government, and I'm ready to put it into practice. So that's me in a nutshell. If you think I can be an asset to this community, I'm ready to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And finally, we have Stephen Wright, and you are also muted.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Steve Wright, and we live just off of Main Street in the downtown area. For those of you that aren't aware, I'm the dinosaur guy that on South Street that's responsible for all the dinosaur nests and babies every spring and other seasonal displays. My wife, Dale, and I moved to Chelsea in the summer of 1977 when we first came to Michigan. Me to take an academic position at the University of Michigan, and Dale to attend graduate school at MSU. Chelsea was a good intermediate point between the two locations. Based on recommendations from people who were more familiar with the area than us. In the subsequent 44 plus years that we've lived here, we have become quite integrated into the Chelsea community. Although my position at the University of Michigan was very time demanding, Dale spent 12 years on the Chelsea School Board and also has served in a number of volunteer positions. I was able to make time for several community activities, most of which were associated with our two sons who grew up in the area, and as well as several positions that I had appointed by either the village or later on the city. Chief among them was my service as the chair of what was referred to as the Water Study Committee that was formed around the beginning of 2007, largely in response to the problems that were associated with the operation of the, at that time, new water treatment plant. And there was also a lawsuit that was filed around the same point in time as a result of the inability of the water system to provide an adequate water supply. Our citizens committee consisted of 7 Chelsea citizens that identified the problems that existed and came up with recommendations that were adequate to solve the problems that were existing at that time and save the city a lot of money at the same time. I've done similar service for other communities, including Ann Arbor, Dearborn, and Detroit. And my time is up, so I'll stop at this point.
Well, thanks everybody for those thoughtful and rather thorough introductions. I feel like I found out a great deal about each and every one of you and your association with our city. We have a bunch of questions. I'm sure we're not going to get through them all since we have so many people running for these positions, but we're going to rotate through. First time through, we'll go in the same order that we just did. The next time we'll start with David, the third question with Christine, the fourth, and we'll roll through it like that so everybody gets a chance to answer the question first. So starting with Tony, the first question is, and I'm going to edit this a little. We have way too many questions, and I want to get ones that will be the most impactful that we can manage, I think. So, Tony, what would you describe a situation or issue in Chelsea that you feel is a top priority to address? And you have 2 minutes, and you're muted.
Thank you. Top priority. I mean, there are multiple priorities that the city faces. I think one of our top priorities needs to be responsible growth. The city needs more housing. There's clearly a need for more housing and how to get that housing. We have limited space to expand. We need to explore avenues of expanding the city through annexing, with working together with the neighboring townships. And of course, notwithstanding, obviously a topic of discussion as far as a top priority within the city is civility. Civility is very important. Civility means talking to each other, understanding each other, making time to listen to each other and offer consideration for other ideas that don't align with your own. This is important. Our current society in general, not just in town, it's nationwide. We're divided on various topics. I'm not going to go into each and every one. Some of them, the topics that we're concerned with as city council are the topics that concern the city and the city business. City business, by and large, involves maintaining our roads, expanding our green space, infrastructure, equipment, purchases, land use, zoning, permits, those types of things. 95% of the time, we vote 7-0 as far as passing policy. Things we disagree on are always going to be there. It doesn't mean we can't be civil with one another.
Okay, and next is David.
Hey, am I there? You got me?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay. Mine's going to be pretty short and sweet here. My priority is law enforcement. I think law enforcement is what it takes to keep this city safe and a desirable place to live. The lack of support for law enforcement and first responders has led us to a toxic situation. This is concerning for me, and I believe a large part of our community. I feel we have wasted money on this issue, and it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next up is Christine.
Yes. First of all, since being here and serving as I have been, I've seen how important careful planning and balancing of our resources, our spaces, and our community development is. And I'm fully throw myself behind the new master plan and the updated Board of Appeal zoning ordinances. And my particular interest in all of that is that Chelsea is growing rapidly. And so I'm very interested in reigniting liaison work, collaboration with the Huron River Watershed Council, with conservation groups, with groups that are associated with the B2B trail development, because I think Chelsea citizens deserve space, green space, recreational space, conserved space, and community space. And I'm really very excited to be voted into city council to be involved in the operational aspects of all of that. I also am a strong advocate of a community policing model in this town that could be focused on de-escalation of conflict, accountability and transparency and enforcement, and collaboration with care workers such as mental health, domestic violence intervention, and substance abuse disorder clinicians. I think our community deserves a caring and compassionate community policing model. I attended the Saline Police Department Strategic Planning, Mission and Vision and Goals, and was very impressed. And I am sure that we could get the input and consensus of Chelsea citizens to work with our police department and the city council in terms of strategic planning. I really believe in goals and objectives, which have to come out of a strategic planning process that would be consensual. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, Bill Ruddick.
Yes, this is one of those areas where, again, if you think about it, as a council member, none of us can walk in there and say, this is our top priority. None of us will have that authority as a council member. What we can walk into is listen and understand what our citizens think are their top priorities, and then as a council, work towards strategies to address those concerns. And that would be my top priority, would be to listen to our citizens and then work with other council members and the administration to make those a reality. It's a pretty simple formula, but that's it. I will also say that, I think our current council has really tried very hard to listen to the community. They've had multiple listening sessions around this issue of policing. And I do believe that they have been moving in the right direction in terms of moving towards a community policing. That's an example of listening to the community, setting a priority, and doing something about it. It takes time, but I really appreciate what the council is attempting to do. And I would intend to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And next up is Phil.
Thank you. I do agree with Dave Kaiser that my top priority will be restoring respect for law enforcement. I think the council has taken an adversarial position with regard to our police, and that position needs to be reevaluated. My second priority would be maintaining the character of Chelsea. We'll be doing a lot of growth and making decisions about how we want to change the community, and regardless of what route we take, I believe the most important thing will be to maintain the small town friendly atmosphere we currently enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Stephen Wright.
Thank you. As I mentioned in the introduction, we live very close to the Main Street, just off downtown. And as such, we're actually close enough to observe the Main Street traffic then over the course of the day whenever I happen to be around home there. I have noticed over the last few years that the amount of traffic on Main Street has been increasing quite significantly, and that there are certain times of the day where it's very difficult to move traffic through the downtown area in a timely fashion. As Sherry Albertson spoke earlier during the mayoral discussion, then there's a limited amount of things that we can, as a city, do. But I believe that there needs to be some investigation to determine whether or not there's a better way of working with the state in order to be able to improve the traffic flow through our town. Some of the options that were available in the past are no longer open, probably, and so some kind of creative approach to this issue is going to have to be taken, because this is a problem that's going to continue to grow in the future.